license and the curriculum, or just kind of have someone. By the way, this is going to be interactive, so. Okay. We all have some locals we're working from. Okay. So I'll start off a little bit, talk a little bit about me, just kind of who I am, a little bit of background, so you kind of have an idea of how long I've been licensed, what I do. You see, I got licensed in 2020. Fun story, my wife was actually licensed first in 2017 and was working as a real estate agent as a solo agent for Howard Hanna. Got recruited to Keller Williams in 2019 and started her team, and then convinced me that it was a good idea for me to move my careers because there was a system to sell some real estate. So that's how that story started. Obviously, as I got going, I did start working with buyers primarily. That was kind of how I got my team in real estate. Today, my production is typically somewhere between like 60-40 sellers, 40% buyers. So I still have a heavy amount of buyers. And this year, I'll talk a little bit about how I've been able to add some more buyer transactions. You see, so far year to date, I've got 43 units closed, about $7.5 million in volume. So like where I live, our price point is not as high as in some areas up north here. And I do coach all of our teammates. So we have a team of 9, and then we've got a couple other agents in our area that are just independent agents. So I coach the independent agents with business coaching, and I coach all of our agents into their productions, their goals, things like that. Background on our team is the minimum standard for our team is 26 transactions per year per agent. So that is the minimum. We average about 30 transactions. I do have some experience as an investor, landlord, things like that. So it's just a little bit about me. I love making connections with people, try to help them buy and sell real estate. So fun facts about me, I guess. I am a CrossFit coach, so 2 days a week, early in the morning, I get up at about 3:45, and then 4:30 a.m. and 5:30 a.m. I coach CrossFit classes. So that is how I spend my day and get going. So, but anyway, enough about me. You guys are here to hear about how to win with buyers. So, first thing I want to start with, I know when they sent me an email, they talked about touching quite a bit on a buyer's consultation, right? How many of you guys do buyer's consultations currently? Show of hands. How many of you have a script that you follow for said buyers? Kind of, sort of, but we've got a little bit of one. So before I get into that, I did want to talk a little bit about where your clientele is coming from, right? So how many of you spend time in your day that you have allocated time for prospecting? Kind of, sort of. Anybody have like a pretty strict schedule, like from 8 a.m. to 11 a.m. on prospecting for new business? Or are we just answering emails and doing all the things and just kind of fly by the seat of our pants? Yeah. Okay. So one of the things that I coach to our team is we need to have a time, right? I need to spend time talking to people every single day about real estate. If I want to work with buyers, if I want to be happy buyers, I got to figure out where those are coming from. So sphere of influence, social media, open houses, Zillow and online leads, referrals, repeat clients, all great sources for leads, right? How many of you are reaching out to your sphere of influence on a regular basis? One. And how do you do that?
Social media, I use a lot, and I try to hit at least 10 people a day, like commenting, and I do a lot of like real estate reels, open houses, and things like that. So yeah.
Anybody else do anything different?
Well, I think there's some things social media, but I have a business coach that I do like my story a lot for personal connection because
right. How frequently are you guys doing this? Do you have a schedule? Do you have a plan for social media engagement?
I do it daily, but I don't have like a set like 8 to
So like when I say plan, so things that I think about when I'm in a social media space is how often do I post about business? How often I post things about my personal life, right? Because one thing I know about social media and one thing we've learned is that folks are going to engage with us more if they think that not only are you a hardworking agent, but you also know how to have fun. And you also have a personal life, right? So what other methods is anybody else using any other method of social media prospect for buyers? Anybody?
I have a full-time job, so I prospect to my patient, and I prospect to my patient. I have sold like 8 of my patients. So,
Nice.
I mean, everybody that I work on knows that I do this. Because I bring them up, like, where do you live? Oh, I have shown a house in your neighborhood.
Right.
I just talk about it.
Perfect. Great. So all great ideas for spearmint meetings, right? How many of you are regularly adding to that database? Just a couple. So think about this, like what would it look like if every day you were adding one more person into that database? How many people would you end up with in a year that you reach? Right? If I'm going to a coffee shop, who here goes to like a coffee shop every morning? Get a cup of coffee. Something like that. Anybody? Yeah. You're usually people at a coffee shop. We talk to a couple people there and introduce ourselves, right? That's the process. Outside of that, open houses are always a great place to prospect for more buyers, more sellers, things like that. And then Zillow or online. Is anybody using Zillow, Realtor.com, anything like that? Yeah. So the reason I kind of bring up these different sources is based on the source of my buyer's consultation is vastly different. Right? So if I'm sourcing my sphere of influence, repeat business, referral business, I'm probably sitting down with these folks for a month. Right? I'm going to reach out to them. We're going to sit down. We're going to have a conversation. We're going to go through the buyer's consult. And we'll get through that in a little bit. For Zillow and online leads, it gets a little tricky. Right? Because what is it that Zillow leads and the Realtor.com leads want first?
To get into a house.
What's that?
To get into a house.
Right? Do they want to talk to me about lenders? Do they want to meet with me somewhere? No. Only the house, right?
And only that.
Right. Potentially, yeah. And only that house. What happens with the houses in contract?
And you send them another one that's similar, say, this one's not available, but I can show you this one at this time.
Absolutely. 100%.
Buyer consultation in driveway, see paper.
Yep. Yep. So that's kind of why I bring that up, because these buyers consultations, in my experience, are critical in capturing buyers, right? And capturing the lead and making sure they continue to work with us. So with the online leads, things like that, I'm always looking, I give them one, that's my general rule of thumb. I'll give them one house and we're having a conversation at home in the moment, and then we're signing agreements, things like that. So anybody got questions on sources? Anybody still struggling getting sources for your prospect providers?
I just have a question about the online leads that are creating a business. Like, which online leads do you feel are best? 'Cause I don't think the Zillow is good as it was.
So, truth is, honestly, we have better luck with Zillow than we have with Realtor.com.
Have you tried home factors?
Well, so I have my opinion about Homes.com. We don't use them as a team. At the end of the day, they wanted a fair amount of money upfront to quote advertise our listings for us. And, you know, our ask to them was, hey, listen, we're a high producing team. Send us some leads, we'll work on, we'll see if the relationship works. Most of the stuff that we've got from them hasn't been reached. So, and I know other agents that have had good experience. So I do know some other agents that have had some good experience with them. They paid that money on front end. Help advertise this to get leads that way, for sure. Personally, we've been able to utilize a little bit of high level. So, and I'll tell you, I'll just touch on that real quick. So for me, one of my tricks with Zillow is I answer the phone, whether it's the live call or whether the tour request now, they have those, that's sort of those are extra fun. But the live calls, hey, this is Brian with the Tracy Jones team. I'm a Zillow Premier agent. I see you're interested in 123 Main Street. When would you like to go see it? That's it. Nope, we want to see it today at 5. Okay, great. I'll get that set up. Is there any questions I can answer for you before I let you know? Nope, great. All right, cool. Once we have confirmation on appointment, I'll shoot you another message, let you know we're confirmed, and I'll meet you. Sound good? Great. Done. Right? Once I meet them at the house, that's when I'm going through the home with them, providing value, talking about the home, going through just kind of things that I do. And like I said, I'll get into a little bit of this because I talk a little bit about my feet buyer's council and my in-person buyer's council. So they are a little bit different. So I'll dig into that a little bit, but at the end of the day, my job is to capture them at that house and provide enough value that they don't want to work with us. Right. My experience right now with them is most of the calls that I'm taking, a lot of them have a house to sell. I'm asking that question, things like that. So I'm getting listings from my leads. We've been able to work quite well. What's my conversion rate? 26%.
I think another part of that, like if you are going to invest in online leads, whether it's Zillow or a different platform, you're spending money, you have to make sure that you have a follow-up system in place and you're not just doing a one-time show and be done.
Yeah.
I think that's part of the reason why as the team, our conversion rate is so high with Zillow is because we do have follow-up questions.
And I mean, we have accountability measures in place for that, right? I know for our team, like I'm in their CRM. So like I have access to it. So when I'm coaching and I'm training them, I can pull up their Zillow profile and I can go down through and what about this person? What's going on with this one? What's going on with this one? Same question I ask myself, right? Zillow has its own CRM. We have separate CRM and all that dumps into, but if I'm just an independent agent, I can pull up my Zillow CRM and I can just go through who do I need to function with, right? So goes back to that prospecting time that I have in the mornings. Prospecting time and follow-up time are critical. If I'm not making time for those two things in my world on a daily basis, I'm going to lose leads. I'm going to lose opportunities. So, yeah, to your point though, the follow-up is definitely key with them because they're swirling. They'll just jump to another agent for sure. If you're not talking to them, they'll just hit the button again. That's the other thing. So I tell them not to hit the button. Like I ask my clients, I'm like, okay, so you have my number now. The next time you see another house that you want to go see, don't click the Zillow button, just call me directly. Just text me directly. Here's my personal cell phone number. You can text that anytime. I don't care if it's 1 o'clock in the morning. My phone's on do not disturb. You won't wake me up. Don't worry about it. Right? So I'm giving them the space to be messaging me whenever it suits them, right? So if I have somebody that works third shift and they're up the wee hours of the morning looking at Zillow, they can send me houses, they can interact with me, and they know that they're not waking me up. They know that. So again, another piece of value that I try to provide to this that clientele to keep them on the hook, so to speak. Make sense? Right. So getting into buyer's consultation. So talk about setting the tone, building trust, establish expectations up front. And I saw a few of you said that you do currently do buyer's consultations. Let's see those hands again. Buyer's consultations. Yeah. Now, do you try to do those in office or coffee shops or something like that, or are you doing those out your coffee shop? Anybody doing them on their feet in the house? How many of you have just like a set process for going through buyer's consultation? Anybody have like a set script for it? So you can see, this is a script book that I have, that I operate from for buyer's consultations, for prospecting leads. Is anybody taking the time to role play that with another agent? How many are doing role play currently? Do you? What's the value that you get from it?
And your role play lead is able to honestly tell you what you should have said, what you could have said.
Yep.
For the buyer, you know, the protection or let's say that I change for the slides or something that might really capture them. So I forgot about. So you can get a, you know, perfect a little bit.
Anybody else?
Practice closing.
Practice closing. So the reason I bring that up is I am big on scripting role playing. What I find the biggest value in role playing this stuff and having a script is I know exactly what to say. Right? So if I know exactly what to say when the person standing in front of me has suggestions or they have questions that I need to answer and I need to think about, I can spend the time thinking about those things. I don't have to worry about the next thing that I want to get out of them, right? The other piece to like a buyer's consult, obviously, so I typically start off just letting them know like why we're here, right? I try to explain to them, hey, listen, our team here today is not only so we can talk about what you're looking for and how it can help, but we're going to push you miles ahead of your buyer's consult. When we're done here, you're going to be ready to go. We're going to know exactly what you're looking for. I'm going to help you find it, and we're going to know what's important, right? So my buyer's consults, excuse me, water. I do use them not just to establish the expectations up front. So I walk them through like what the inspection process looks like. I walk them through the entire process of my buyer's consult. Once we've discovered what they're looking for, once we've discovered the houses that are important to them, why the home site is important, why the bedrooms are important, why the area is important, right? Which, by the way, I'm not just getting that information. I'm asking the question a little deeper of why is that important to you, right? Can anybody guess why motivation is so important for the client?
So that you don't show them 30 houses and they just have a lot of
Yeah. What else?
Feelings
Motivation.
matter.
What's that?
Feelings matter.
Yeah. What else?
You can excited about working with you, so you know, go about leading them in the right direction.
Right. Build rapport. What else?
You know what's negotiable.
Yeah. What else? It's my favorite question. I'm gonna play in that round.
I think it tells you what they really want, like, you know, are schools really the most important factor, or being your family's important, or do they want to be not your family, or, you know, whatever.
Yeah.
Like, what is the true motivation?
If they get off track, you can remind them, like, remember you told me this.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Motivation on Facebook, so I know like
right? Yeah. Exactly. All of those are good answers. For me, I'm looking for motivation primarily because number one, I want to match their level of intensity. So if they're just casually looking, I'm gonna let them know, listen, if this becomes more emergent, let's talk about that. And if it's just a casual look, maybe I won't touch that. Versus if I have a client that's like, hey, listen, Ryan, I have to go right now. Rental, my ceiling just fell in my living room. I gotta go. Like, I can't, this is not livable with my children. I gotta go. I know I have a buyer that is likely gonna offer on a house this week. I just gotta find them. So that's one reason. Second reason is once I'm inside a transaction with a client. Because I promise you, every single time, something happens. Something happens, right? And when those things come up, when those things occur, and it could be anything. Everybody always thinks about inspections. We can come up with lending issues. Does anybody have a client receive their initial disclosure from the lender and freak out when they saw their payment? Like, no, I can't buy this house. I'm done. I gotta go. There's no way I can afford this, right? And you're like, shit. Right? And so if I know their level of motivation and I know why they're looking and I know why they love the house, I can bring them back to it and we can have that conversation. When we originally talked, we talked about where your payments were at. Reasonably, I would hope that we've had that conversation prior to you walking. But we've had that conversation about why their payments were at and bringing them back to that. You know, we went through this. We went through your budget. We went through your stuff, right? If I can bring them back to the motivation, I can keep them engaged and calm them down. But sometimes that stuff sticks, right? So again, one of those reasons I like to find out motivation inside of buyer's household. The other piece of the buyer's consultation that I really like to dive into, and I kind of touched on this a second ago, is that lending piece. So one of the things that I will do in my consultation, does any of you have like a preferred lender? Not one necessarily that you can get any kind of whatever from, just like a preferred lender, somebody that you've worked with that's done just like a bang up job, really unique to great with your clients. Most of you, yeah. And so how often in your buyer's consultations are you introducing that lender? All the time?
I have an email script that I send every buyer of like what to expect from the lending process, what to expect from the top of showing homes, what to expect from the buyer's agency agreement. And my top lenders are in that email that I'm choosing from.
Perfect. So those of you that aren't doing that, take note of that. If you have somebody that you've worked with, you have a good working relationship with, it can be helpful in the process, right? I know a couple agents on our team, they like to do 2 or 3. That's fine. Some people feel that's necessary to make sure that they have choices, and that's perfectly fine as well, right? And at the end of the day, if I'm putting them with a preferred lender that I know is being good, right? When we look at houses, one of the things that I do like to do is I send those houses to that lender and I'm like, hey, at this price, and this price, what's their payment? What's their cash to close? Every single time. Right? And this is a little bit different than, I know this is a little off track of the buyer's consult. And I feel like it's important to kind of discuss why I do some of the things that I do with my buyer's consult. That's why I'm trying to put them with a preferred lender, because I know I have that relationship and I can reach out and I can say, hey, what is this for this person at these prices? And I'm gonna have that information within an hour or 2. Because if I have a client that's ready to offer, the one thing that I don't want to happen is we go ahead and put an offer and they freak out with disclosures. And that happened a time or 2. And so that is what I do now to mitigate that particular piece. So part of the again, part of that is avoiding those surprises and misunderstandings. Inside that buyer's council, again, I'm demonstrating my value to them as their trusted advisor, right? I'm having financial conversations with my clients. So as I have those conversations with my clients about their finances, it takes a little bit of time to dig deeper into that. And as I build rapport, they just open up, right? Because they know why I'm asking the questions. I'm asking these questions because I want to make sure that it's affordable for them. I want to make sure that it works for their family. I want to make sure that these people know that, like, hey, listen, I don't care if I sell you a house today or I sell you a house in a year. I only care about what your timeline is. And it only matters to me that you get the right house for the right reasons and it's the right fit for you and your family. Or for just you. There's no family. It doesn't matter. Right? Whatever the case is. And that is one of the biggest things that I like to get across in my buyer's consults and that initial consultation. So all right, pre-appointment intake. Asking the right questions. So again, this goes back. Discovering motivation and timelines, clarifying want, needs, values, asking them about selling. What's their preferred communication? All things that I need to know. How often are you guys asking about preferred communication methods?
Ask for times you available. Because if they're scheduled on mine, then I refer them.
Mhm. And then I assume everybody's asking if they have a house to sell. Right? Am I doing that?
Yeah.
Okay, good. So discovering motivation and timeline. For me, again, that's a big one. The timelines matter. I need to make sure that I'm touching on all of those points. So real quick, I want to ask. So a lot of you, I assume, work with a variety of lead sources, sphere of influence, online leads, things like that. How many of you have had somebody just like ghost you and stop talking? Did you do buyer's consult with them? They'll stop talking. Yeah. So the reason I ask that is this goes back to my whole thing about scripting role playing. So a lot of times, early in my, like in the first couple of years of my career, like I do not see my hands. I just made it up as I went. I relied on my ability to sell people. I relied on my ability to talk to lots of people and mirror match people really well. Found out I was good at it. And I still had people that just like, man, for whatever reason, gosh, what happened that first? I thought we did good, like we talked, we met at the house, I took them through all the things, and then just like fell off the face of the earth, right? For me, one of the things that changed that, and I mean, I'm not saying like it won't ever happen, it still happen. But what lessened that was once I started scripting and role playing and going through these consultations, going through an online lead script and role playing with other agents. Right. As I talk about these things, I was learning things that were playing better, language that worked better. Does that make sense? So, sorry about that. So pre-approval lender conversations. Again, inside buyer's consultation, setting expectation early. Why the pre-approval matters. Why partnering with one of my trusted lenders matters. And how it can save time, strengthen the offers. So again, it's even in my scripting. when I talk to the client about this stuff, I say, listen, we're gonna go ahead and get you connected with a lender. They're in-house. We close X amount of loans with them every year. I'm gonna have them reach out to you directly to you, however you want to be able to make an application, they send you a link, or they can just take it directly to the phone. We'll get you started, right? Mr. and Mrs. Buyer, you know why that's important to you? You know why it's important? Nope, sure don't, Ryan. Great, let me explain. Now I can talk to them about having a local lender. How, if we do get into a long situation, we have a higher chance of winning. Right? I also like to tell my clients that, listen, like I said earlier, we're gonna be able to get you payment information. We're gonna be able to get you that cash to close so that you know what this means for you financially down the road. And what that does for me as the agent, now I know I'm working with a buyer that can actually buy. We don't have to go shop for houses and look at 30 houses and find out what they're going to buy. Right? So, I mean, that pre-approval process, getting with a trusted lender is critical. I have, and this is kind of just a fun fact. Does anybody know the difference between a Rocket Mortgage verified pre-approval and a Rocket Mortgage pre-approval? Anybody seen that yet? You have?
One is verified their assets.
Correct. So one has their credit score, one has their income and their assets. Interesting fact about that, if they can't verify their assets, in other words, if they need down payment assistance, it's not a verified pre-approval. Right? So even if I'm getting pre-approvals, like I get clients like, no, Ryan, I've been talking to Rocket, I used to when I bought my last house, they're great. Oh, it's the same agent. Nope, different guy. Awesome. Fantastic. All center. Right? Great. What's their number? And by the way, have you shopped them? Have you looked at different rates? Have you looked at different costs? I don't know how to think about that. Well, Mr. Spire, doesn't make sense that if we can get these two people to fight over you, they might just be willing to discount your rates and discount your costs. Simply because you had a second opinion. Do you think that might be worth 15 or 20 minutes of your time to talk for lunch? It's a segue right into our lender. And by the way, I know that the lender we use can be Rocket Mortgage costs. I know he can be quicker loan costs. So the downside against him. And even so, even if they're stuck on that lender, I can still call and I can find out what the deal is. That's verified or not. So just like, again, like little things that I do that have helped me keep more buyers, capture more buyers, and sell more of them. Right? So how many of you have a set value proposition? Why am I work with you? I want to buy a house. Why do I want to work with you? Yeah. I don't put you on the spot.
I'd say I'm pretty relatable, easy to get along with, and I have almost 4 years of experience in the industry and understand. I don't have a set value proposition, so I'm kind of looking at this.
That's okay. But that's how we start, right? Right. Because we got to think about these things, right? Like I have to know why does somebody want to work with me? Why do they care? Why do they need me? Can't I just go to the listing agent? I'll probably get a better deal with the listing agent, right?
Yeah, but you'll remember.
Well, we'll get that commission just for me, right? So we gotta know why we're valuable to a buyer in this market. I don't know about you guys, but in 21 and 22, 23 as buyer's agent, it was a good time. Like people just called, and they just wanted to see houses. I was like, man, you gotta go like 10 over. They're like, all right, let's go 10 over. Right? I don't think it was that fun. But at the end of the day, like there were a lot of people, nobody really questioned, so everything had to be fast, fast, fast. Right? Today people have choices. Today buyers have choices. There's all kinds of stuff out on the news media. It's not as prevalent now as it was last year around August when CNAR rules changed. Now we need extra agreements, all this stuff. By the way, which that's always a fun conversation. By the way, I want you to sign a contract with me today. I know you've never met me until today, but let's sign a contract with you for 6 months or a year, whatever, right? Not the easiest conversation in the world. So delivering a value proposition today is probably more critical than that. So one of the things that I know about my clients when they work with me is I do have a fair amount of experience, right? And so Mr. Versus Buyer, I understand the market. I understand what's happening, right? Things to know about me is it's my job to be a solution, right? It's my job to protect your best interests, even if it's not in my best interest. So at the end of the day, my only job is to make sure that I find you the right house for the best price out there. It doesn't matter, right? I work for you, not the other way around. So at the end of the day, I have to be loyal to you. I have to follow your lawful instructions. I have to keep confidentiality. We have to keep confidentiality. By the way, this is on the consumer guide, right? And so as I go through this stuff, I can start to talk about my value proposition just based on a document I'm gonna have to have it signed. So that's like right there we can start. Like, oh, there's no one's work for us. Right? We're having a conversation. Recently, we've already had a conversation about what they want, where they want to be, what they're looking for in the house. Whether it's in the first house that we're looking at, or whether it's sitting at the table in my office. Right? We're having that conversation about what's important to them and why that's important to them. And then I'm talking about my fiduciary duty as an agent to them. Okay. Other values I bring. I'm an active agent of market. I prospect every single morning. Not just for folks like you looking to buy houses, but I'm prospecting every morning for my next listing. For sellers that are looking to sell their house. And by the way, simply because you're working with me, if I come across a house that's a good fit for you, you're gonna have first crack at seeing the house. Would that be a benefit to you? You have the first opportunity to see a house before it hit the market. Would you appreciate if I did that for you? Right. Oh yeah, yeah, we love that, Ryan. But who wouldn't? So those are places I start my value. Of course, access to off-market properties. I do prospect for off-market properties, and I look for off-market deals as well. You know, and this is part of being in conversation every day. This goes back to that prospecting piece that I was talking about. Like, how many conversations are we having every single day with people? How many decision-making adults that I talk to today about real estate? Right? That's one of the reasons that my normal day, most days starts at 8 o'clock in the morning. Some days maybe 8:30, but most days 8 o'clock in the morning. From 8 a.m. to 9:30 in the morning, I'm just calling. Many people have expired listings, sent my owners, I call them my CRM, texting on my Zillow people, message my friends, right? All those things, prospect every single day. And again, when my clients know that I have a set schedule and they see that that's work that I'm putting in, they see what kind of value I'm providing. Right? Does anybody else have like things that they tell their clients that they're gonna do for them, value. Who else has a value proposition? Anybody?
One of the questions,
Shoot.
for a brand new agent in their first 30 days, how would you deliver your value proposition? Or just getting started and you don't have experience on?
Oh my gosh. So I know you're looking at me, I just got licensed, and you know what, because of that, I'm gonna work harder for you than any of these other agents around here. Because you're that important, to me, right? I wanna make sure that I'm doing the best job I possibly can for you, and trust and believe. I'm looking at houses for you every day. I'm shopping every day for you. I'm asking all the questions, I'm going to all these learning activities. This is what my schedule looks like. And I can't wait to put the work in for you so that you can tell all of your friends and family just how hard I work to earn your business.
One thing that I always tell my clients is I'm just proud of the house that I won't tell you, it's the one that I will.
Yeah,
And I would tell them, like, if you walk into the house and it's got more, it needs done than I know you're willing to do, or it's got a bunch of features that I know you initially told me you don't want. But we're done, because I'm not gonna tell you something that ultimately you don't want.
for sure.
I also mentioned the fact that I'm full time, so you're dedicated. And it's just something that I would, even when I was part time, I mean, I'm still dedicated, right? But they do like to hear, oh, we do this all the time.
Yep. 100%. Yeah, and also use the same thing. I'm like, hey, listen, this is my only gig. Like, right, like I don't get paid until I sell the house. You know, and they do like to hear that all the time. I will tell you, they also like to hear that I don't sell your house today. It's not that critical, right? If it's not the right house, it's not the right house. How many of you have went to more than one full home inspection? How many? 5, 10?
What, an inspection?
Yep, whole thing.
Yeah.
From start to finish. Ask the inspector lots of questions.
Yeah.
Good. Always?
Always.
That's dedication. So what's the reason? Did you go there with, did you guys go there with your clients, or did you go there by yourself? For the entire thing? From start to finish? Okay. Who has went to a home inspection without your clients? Good. So the reason I asked that question is I learned more about homes from picking the brain of my home inspectors than I did in his. When I show my clients houses, one of my values is I'm like, hey, listen, we're gonna walk through this house, we're gonna talk about the defects. Why would I want to point out all the defects other than the obvious of if it's a crap house, like you don't want to buy this, right? Like,
Show your expertise.
sure.
That you know what you're looking at.
Wow.
I want to know if you don't care, like, you don't need to buy it, like, no, so.
Wow.
So they don't get scared.
50 page. It will trust you.
Transparency.
So they're not scared when they have their home inspection about all the little things that are gonna be there, that they're not all really major things you gotta worry about. That there's a lot wrong with every house. Every house is something.
So my favorite line to clients of mine that are buying a house is this. So we walk through this house, we're talking about offering, right? Yep, we think it's the right house for us, Brian. Awesome. Okay. So based on everything that we've seen today, we talked about all the defects that we were able to see, that we could physically see today. Based on what you've seen, what kind of an offer would you like to make? Based on the current condition of the home that you can see, what kind of offer would you like to make? Sometimes they throw a number at me. Sometimes they're like, well, what do you think? Right? Well, I think based on that, based on what I see, based on what's happening in the market, this house is going to sell between this price and this price. Right? I can range. Where would you like to offer? By the way, they will always offer a lower number. just so you know, right? So how many of you think that my range is set as such? Like, I'm not, like, well, I think it should sell at 130, and I really know, like, all day long it's 145, right? Like, I'm not gonna do that.
Right.
So I'm also not doing it if it's not necessarily if it's 2 days on the market. I'm like, hey, listen, it's a couple days on the market. If you're not willing to offer asking price, maybe we'd let this sit for a little bit before you go ahead forward with the offer, right? Or if you'd still like to offer it and see where they land, I can talk to the agent, find out if they have any offer that they want. We talk whatever you like. But my favorite line is based on the conditions of the home. Where do you think we should land? Right? Because I'm future pacing this immediately with my buyers. It's one of the ways that I win with all my buyers is I'm future pacing this because now we know that when we get to that home inspection, that's 60, 70, 90, I've seen 100+ page home inspections. They don't freak out. I meet my buyers at the end of the home inspection. So I line it up with my clients. Now, I mean, some markets are different. I know some of these, depending on where you're at and the agents in that area. So caveat, my area is a little rural. I know some areas like the listing agent wants you there for the entire inspection, and that's fine. If that's the case, and you have to be there with the home inspector, that's fine. For us, most of the agents in my area are fine with us showing up at the end, or in some cases, not even being there. Me personally, I show up at the end of every one of my inspections. I find out from the home inspector how long it's going to take you. They're like, nope, it's going to take me 2 hours to finish this house. Take a break. You're starting at 9. I'll meet you there with my client at 11. The way I talk to my clients about this is also valuing my own time. The way I express this to my clients is, hey, listen, that home inspector is going to do their job. And if we're there for the entire time and we're asking lots of questions, they may miss something. So let's give them their time to do a thorough home inspection without any interruptions. And then when we meet them at the end, they can go over and cover with us all the highlights.
What area?
Ashland, Ohio. And so I service Ashland County, Richland County. Ready for this? Huron County, Summit County, Stowe County, Medina. Sometimes I will come up into Cleveland, but not very often because I don't know Cleveland that well, other than where to go eat. And then we'll go maybe to, I'll go down to Franklin County a little bit. We have an agent on our team that services down there more than I do. So I mean, if you drop a pin in Ashland, it's about an hour radius around yourself in that circle. But that's just how I like to go about my home inspections. And again, I'm not taking my buyers out of their work, out of their job for 2, 3, 4 hours of time. And we're still covering all the important facts of the home inspection. Right? And then we can ask questions on site about what that home inspector found. Anybody have any thoughts on that? I know some of you said the whole thing.
I think that's great. It's in this area of common.
Yeah, you guys have to be here for the whole thing.
I let them start about an hour before I go there. I tell them my phone to be outside.
Mm-hmm.
They fly their drone or whatever, whatever they're going to do, and then let them know when we need to let me in.
I'm there from the beginning, but I do have my clients come towards the end.
I try my clients to out the job and talk to them at the end. So that's what we're going around here. Furniture, right?
Is that like a requirement of thing, or is it just like standard practice for us to do this?
So I can feel that. Yeah, I can feel that. So in some areas, it's considered standard practice. It's not At the end of the day, you should ask the listing agent. Permission.
Not to be there. So it's really their call.
So it does fall on the seller, because at the end of the day, the same as we are for a buyer, we are for the seller. When we're a fiduciary, we have to follow their lawful instructions. Right, which basically means at the end of the day, that any kind of action I'm taking in any kind of space, I have to check with my client. So if I'm working the sell side listing, I'm like, hey, the inspector's gonna be there at this time, they're likely gonna be there on their own, and then the agent's gonna come at the end. Are you comfortable with that? If I'm the buyer's agent, I'm gonna ask that agent, hey, the inspector's gonna come at this time, do you need me to be there the whole time, or are we good to show it at the end? Just ask the question.
You also have to ask the listing agent every time who you're allowed to get a lockbox code to. That's not like as a realtor, but like as a
Yeah,
realtor,
home inspectors are licensed in the state of Ohio, but-
right, but they're not realtor.
But they're like, let's go into the house when they have a license. They can go into the house.
Yep. And so that is one of the things they had, why they made them do their license is for that. And we still, depending on the area that you're in, like if you guys are in these areas where they expect it, I would ask. Just to be on the same side, because otherwise you gotta listen, you know, like freaking out. So,
I think sometimes it's more acceptable when the house is vacant, because when it's occupied and it's not. Right, what else there. But there's constantly things that belong to this and the home is not occupied. You don't want that liability.
So, and then I touched on this a little bit. The last thing I'll talk about on this particular slide is explaining fiduciary duties. So when I'm covering that consumer guide with a buyer client, I am talking about my fiduciary duty, and I'm looking at the acronym. Has anybody seen that acronym, full car? Fiduciary, you guys all know what that means. And so thinking about those things, right? Obedience, loyalty, disclosure, confidentiality, accounting, reasonable care, right? If I'm operating in that space and I'm presenting myself to the client in a buyer's consultation, like this is my fiduciary duty and here's what this means for you. Again, it speaks to that value proposition where we're starting to make them feel like we have. Something that I do know is in a lot of markets, there's a lot of agents that don't do this. I can't tell you how many clients I've run across that are buying their second or third house, and they never had somebody walking through this with them. They're like, yeah, I think I signed that. I'm like, nobody talked to you about it. Nobody explained to you what due agency was. Nobody explained to you what that meant for the buyer. No, they just told me I had to sign it when I offered. Right? Like, one of the funniest things to me is it's so easy to capture clients in these markets. If you just pay a little bit of attention to what you're saying to these clients. It's why I know what I want to say to each client. It's why I say the same thing every single time to every single client. Right? My coach told me once, if you have to repeat it, you need a system for it. If you're doing it more than once, you need a system around it. The systems create consistency. Right? And once I have that consistency and I find these things that work, I keep that steady flow of business. I'm able to capture more clients. And by the way, when I get consistent in my language, it gets better. It gets more like me. Right? So the more often that I say these things, the more like my personality comes through, the more it's just me, and it's much more natural. And now all of a sudden people just feel at ease because they're like, oh, he's just like our friend. Right? No, no, I've never friend people not talk to me anymore. Buyer presentation tools. So visual aids. Now you all said, a lot of you said you have a buyer's consultation you go through. How many of you have a buyer's packet? Couple of you?
I keep one in my bag.
Created like in Canva and stuff like that.
Well, the one that I created, actually, I took from somebody else with their permission and edited it with my information. So It's really good. And then I don't print that out, I email that to them, but I have like the consumer guide and a buyer's agency with me all the time. And everything else I do is verbal.
So one of my favorite things too is we have a buyer's packet, which we also ripped off and duplicated from another team. We changed some things, to make it our own. We changed some things for our market, so we still read through it. We made some alterations to it. And at the end of the day, what I use that buyer's packet for is literally my buyer's consultation. I can go page by page by page, and it's the same thing every single time. It's the same language every single time. And then I can have them sign my agreements. Other things that you can do inside a buyer's presentation, have neighborhood stats. So thinking about if you know where they're looking, or if you don't know where they're looking and you're just meeting with them and you find out on that initial consultation, pull it up on your computer, have your MLS ready to go, have Zillow ready to go. I know a lot of people think, I don't know how many people think Zillow is the enemy, but I know some agents do. Something to understand about Zillow and Realtor.com is it's the consumer platform that they trust, right? So, I mean, we as agents can be grumpy about it all we want. We can be grumpy that they own everything. Like I think they own showing time now. Yeah. So, and we can be grumpy about it all day long. And at the end of the day, it's the platform that they know, love, and trust, right? And so the platform they know, love, and trust. I know in the past I've had clients that prefer to use Zillow, and I have clients that prefer to use Realtor.com. I use those platforms when I'm looking for houses for them. If I see something that shows up, I send them the Zillow link. They shop on Zillow. If I see something that's going to fit their buy box and they use Realtor, I send them the Realtor.com link because that's what they're used to, right? That's what they're using. I'm still using my MLS. I'll still put them on a drip. I'll still put them on in my CRM. I'll still send them links, via email or whatever. And I've had the most luck with sitting down, looking for houses for my clients, and just actually sending them to them during my follow-up time every day. Because I'm on the platforms that they like.
Can you send that right from your profile so it has your information?
It just sends them the link. Like when they open it on their phone, just something like, so it'll open up their profile because they've already likely created a profile on there. They have those searches. And that's the other thing to remember is, yes, I have them set up on my search, all those things, and it's likely that they have their own searches set up.
I never thought of that. I did have a client who used to send me all the time Realtor.com. I can send it up to my page. That makes so much more sense. Just send them where they like to be.
I have people send me links and I send them the MLS link so they feel a bit more accurate. So like I'll text them back and I'll send them the MLS link through MLS Touch and say make sure that you read that on here. And I tell them that like they're making something not accurate on it.
And I mean, you can do that. At the end of the day, I've captured more just sending them the platform that they work on. Because here's my thing. I've looked at the house. I've looked at the MLS. I know if there's things that are important, right? So at the end of the day, the way I see it is it's my job to help determine those things because I want to direct them to the houses that I think are going to be a good fit for them. And if I know them well enough and I've asked them questions, I can reasonably look through that and have a better idea, even like what if it's going to be a good fit for them. So let's go see this house. I think this is good for you. It's literally my message to my clients. Here's your Zillow link. Well, we should go look at this. And by the way, let's look at this one. This one. When can we go? Because if they're pre-approved and they're ready to go and they're ready to buy, let's go. And that's how I operate.
How do you restrict the amount of time for your personal life for showing? Because I modify everything for my clients and I adjust my schedule.
So these days, These days I use a showing system,
What's it?
a showing assistant. So I have a licensed agent that works with me as a partner that will show houses for me. That's helped in that space. And I will introduce her in the buyer's consultation. So that's part of my buyer's consultation that I do. Because here's the thing. I can't go on as many listing appointments as I want to in a week and still show 40 houses to buyers, right? That's just not in the cards. Like, there's not enough time today. And yes, I need to sleep. I need to have family time. I need to do all things. When I didn't have a showing systems, I showed a lot of houses and I worked a lot of crazy hours. And I would set aside at least a day during the week for me not to show houses. And I would let my clients know that. So I was pretty clear with them, you know, hey, Sunday is kind of my day to regroup and refresh. And by the way, I've never got pushback. The only time that I'll show houses on a Sunday is if it's something that's going to involve offers and I have to. And that was even before I had a showing system. And it's because Sunday is my day to regroup with my business, to regroup with all the things that I need to do for our team and things like that, and to get my own house together. Like I'm super OCD, right? So like when I start on a Monday morning, I want all my clothes to be dried, put away. I want all of our dishes done. I want the house to be clean. I want it to start fresh every single Monday. And when my Sunday gets thrown into a mess because I was running around with people, I'm off all week. So most of my clients know that I do take that day. So boundaries, at the end of the day, but have the conversation. You'll be surprised. It's hard to do with the clients that you've already been working with that you'll like just drop everything and go for it. But when I made the change, what I did is I started it with the clients, right? So as I got a new client, hey, so here's when I'm showing houses. Just understand, typically on Sundays I don't. Now, if something comes up that we have to go see, because it's the only chance that we have to offer and get into there, for sure we'll make that happen. But otherwise, just know that Sundays, Saturdays, Friday, whatever it is for you, I'm typically off that day. They're not going to push back. It feels like they will. Anybody else?
I think it's also just being upfront with your client too. So if you do have set days that you don't work or you're off, is just letting them know, like, I don't work these days or whatever, but I'm always going to be here for you. And I have a showing partner, talk to somebody in your office that you can team up with and help, you guys can do showings for each other back and forth. But just making it know, like, you do care for them and you do have options if you're unavailable at that specific day or time when they want to see a house right away.
Yeah, for sure. So bring more presentation tools, step-by-step buying process. That is definitely something that is in our buyer's packet. So we have almost like bullet points. Here is the process of buying process. In my buyer consultation script that I have, literally has step 1, qualifying, select. Step 2, listing search. Step 3, view homes. Step 4, market analysis. Step 5, offer consultation. Step 6, negotiations. 7, offer acceptance. 8, home inspections. Step 9, apply for mortgage appraisal. Right. Step 11, walk through closing, and then finally closing. So I can, in my buyer's consultation, I can literally take my clients, and there's a visual representation of my buyer's packet that takes them step by step from start to finish. It's going to be a huge value because, again, one of the things that I find with newer people that are first-time buyers is a lot of them, when you're real, they're like, I don't know what I'm doing. And nobody's willing to sit down with them and tell them the process. If you're the agent that wants to sit down with these folks and explain, hey, here's the process, here's what this looks like, and here's going to be where it's going to get sticky, they're going to appreciate that. one of our agents, Christina, once she started doing this, she got to a space where all of a sudden her transactions got real quiet. And prior to that, I mean, she has some noisy transactions. And at one point in time, she had like deals that would just blow up, just fall out of contract. One after another. She's still closing a fair amount. She was blowing up deals left and right. And so one of the things that we did is we started talking about bulletproof the transaction. And so for on our team, if your transaction fell apart and went back on market, you had to list 5 things that you as the agent could have done differently. And the initial response is the buyer's crazy, the listing agent was insane, the seller was ridiculous. I can't change that. Everybody sucks. Right? And so we're like, well, full personality out of it. What else could you have done? If these personalities weren't involved in this transaction, what could have changed the outcome of this deal? What conversations could you have had? That step-by-step buying process is the conversation. If that conversation is nailed, your transactions are going to be 100 times smoother because you're going to have prepped your buyer for all things, right? I know one piece of language that a few of us have used is, you know, hey, listen, understand, once we get to this step here, where's it at? Your mortgage and appraisal process, you might get a little mad at me. You might be a little annoyed. They're like, no, Ryan, like, we love you, like, you're a great agent, like, you're doing such a good job. We just love you so much because, you know, we just got an offer accepted. I'm the hero, right? They start getting disclosures. Appraisal comes in low, or there's repairs that have to be done, right? They start seeing the numbers. They're like, oh shoot, we might need to extend. The lender's asking them for the same document for the 10th time. They're like, oh, I gave you that. I'm like, yeah, we need a new one. Like, what do you mean? I don't have any new ones, right? Like, why isn't your employer answering us? I don't know why my boss won't answer you or give you my verification. I thought you already had it. Yeah, but we need it again. Client's pissed, right? If you tell them, hey, listen, there's going to be some spots that are going to be bumpy along the way. Here's some spots that could get bumpy inspection. We might find something that, you know, we're not real super happy about. And we ask the seller, listen, where it's time to renegotiate. We want $10,000 off. So I'm not giving you $10,000 off, but the same thing back on the market. You're like, oh shit, there goes my dream house. Right? Guys, we might have to negotiate a little bit. We might have to find a common ground, middle ground, something that you're comfortable with. Yeah, I think we'd be comfortable with as long as there's a little give and take. Okay, great. Right? Understand when you get into the lending process, they're going to ask you for a ton of stuff. You're going to feel like you just need to deploy your firstborn, and even then that might not be good enough. Right? When they get there, trust and believe they're going to be frustrated and like, you told me about this. Yep, I did. Now they're not mad at me. And all of a sudden I'm like, remember we talked about this might happen. Oh yeah, that's right. I remember that. Okay, great. So where are you comfortable proceeding from here? Here's some options that I can do. We can take this route, we can take this route, we can take this route. How would you like me to proceed on your behalf? And then just shut up. Let them talk. Let them get all that out. Let them talk it through with you and just keep asking questions. Okay, great. Let me go back to the agent and ask me if they'll be willing, if that seller will be willing to do that repair. Hey, great. Let me talk to your lender and figure out exactly what they need. And then I'll get back to you and we'll figure it out together. Right? Like, be involved. One of the biggest things I find on the lending side is lenders have very specific language that doesn't always make sense. Right? How well can you as the agent translate that to the buyer? How well can you articulate those things the lender needs and like normal speak? Right.
Therefore, I could articulate that.
Right.
And understand both.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. And I've done that. I've got on the phone, I go, I'm like, man, I'm like, come on now. Like, that doesn't make any sense to me. Please explain to me why this is what it is. I don't understand. Tell me more.
And that's why that relationship is so important. That you pick up the phone and you know they're gonna do that.
Yep. 100%.
And that's another thing that I tell my clients too, is that I'm an agent that's gonna answer a phone.
Yep.
Like, if I don't answer my phone, I'm texting you back as soon, like, when I'm going to call you back, and I'm responding to your phone.
Yep.
In one way or another.
Yep. Do you have set hours?
I mean, like, I answer my phone in between patients. And I write offers in between patients. And I work on my lunch break. Mrs. Doubtfire it. I go for my scrubs to real estate clothes, back into my scrub, so that people don't know I work two jobs. Like, there's people that I know personally that know that I work two jobs and they respect it. And there's other people that think if you're working a full-time job, you're not fully dedicated to me. And I tell them, like, I'm probably more dedicated to you than most other agents do this full-time job.
I'd love to chat with you afterwards about how you can still do that and still have a little bit of life.
And I have two kids, nightmare. That's why I asked about your time management, because it's work. I work 6:30 in the morning till about 10 o'clock at night. And if I'm writing an offer till 1 in the morning. And I'm up at 6 and I get the kids out the door and they're in all the things. I had to re-coordinate tonight because my husband's working, my kids are volleyball and football, and who's taking them home?
Let's chat at the end for a little bit.
I have a really good mom tribe. I have a great mom tribe.
Good, good, perfect. And so other things that we do include in our buyer presentation and all of our tools. So like in your buyer packet that you guys are presenting, testimonials or reviews, right? How many of you are regularly asking for reviews? How many Google reviews do you guys have?
Don't you have to, I don't have any, but I want to do it. Don't you have to pay for a Google landing page in order to have Google reviews? Okay.
Yeah, you can just create one.
Okay.
So asking for the reviews, asking for referrals. 3 times inside a transaction, I have an opportunity to ask for reviews and referrals 3 times. Every single week. Right when we first started looking together, when I get them in contract, and when we close. 3 easy asks, literally 3 times that buyer loves me. Don't ask for reviews when you're going through the appraisal process. But asking for reviews, asking for referrals, and then if they're a first-time home buyer, ask them to say something about them being a first-time home buyer and how great you work with them, right? Ask them to be specific about these things. If they were selling their home, ask them to talk about, hey, they did a great job selling my home and they made sure that I found my dream home before I had to be out of my house, right? So like whatever happened on transaction, ask them to get specific. The easier you can make it for them to review, the better. I have a wonderful team that does all the technology stuff for me, so I'm blessed in that area. I know we have QR codes and stuff like that, but there are sites that you can just make QR codes that are attached to your reviews. I met a guy at Mega Camp this year that was talking about reviews, and he had like the easiest site in the world. I think he told him that he, like his initials, Sally's or something like that, .com. And it's like, yep, go there. You go there, and it takes you right to the reviews. Right to his Google reviews. They're like 2,500 Google reviews. So, testimonials, reviews, always good stuff to have on all your paperwork. Getting buyer agency signed, consultation to commitment. So again, I throw this in at the end of my buyer's consult. It's the last thing I'm asking for. And I do it in the same order every single time. I take them through a consumer guide, and then I take them through buyer rep agreement. in that order. Anybody guess why I do it in order?
Say that again?
So I take them through the consumer guide, and then I take them through the buyer representation.
Reiterating your work.
Yep, right there. Because I just got done telling you about all the things that I'm gonna do for you as your fiduciary. I just got done reiterating my value proposition to you. And why it's important to you, and why that matters to you. And now I'm gonna talk about why you need representation. Right? It makes that conversation easier and they're already pretty decided. And I don't know, I'll state it. So I know in my buyer's consultations, like I do let them know, I'm like, hey, listen, if at some point in time, this relationship isn't working, just let me know. Just let me know. You can get out of this buyer representation agreement anytime you like. Because if you don't want to work with me, that's okay. We can shake hands and part ways as friends. The only thing that I ask is that you come to me and say something and tell me what I do right so I can do better, and that's fine. Is that fair? Right? It takes that tone down just a little bit, where they're like, oh, okay, that's cool. Like, I'll work with you. If I can fire you, I'll work with you. Right? Because again, you can fire me anytime you want, because I work for you, not the other way around. And we do talk about how it protects both myself and the client. But I really do kind of push on those items of, this allows me to go work for you. The same thing that I do with seller when we sign the exclusive right to sell. Right? If you want to put me to work for you, this is how we start. Right? We're entering into an agreement that allows me to go to work for you. So, real client wins. Does anybody have anything recently that like a client win? We've talked about a lot of stuff today, right? Like we talked about our language with buyers, talked about our buyer consultations and how to capture buyers, how to get them to stop ghosting us as often. We talked about our value proposition. Anybody have any recent wins within buyers using some of these tools?
So,
Yeah, congratulations. You finally got one. I say it's one of the hardest things to do is start in this business, and people don't realize how hard this business is until they're in it. Like I don't know about you, before I was an agent, I was like, I watched my wife. I was like, I need to sell houses, right? It's not easy. It's not easy. Anybody else like working with me buyer?
So I have a buyer and I took her to a house and she fell through the stairs.
oh my gosh.
Yeah. But because I was there with her and followed the ambulance to the emergency room and sat with her till her family got there, you know, she's like, I just love you so much. I'm like, girl, you better hurry and find a house. I'm tired. That made her laugh, but I was being serious.
You better buy a house for me.
Yeah.
Figure out a house. Anybody else? Buyer wins.
I had clients that reached out. I've been thinking from Zillow when I was with Zillow. I'm gonna do it, and they ended up in July. They're ready to go. Need to find something ASAP. I was like, oh, hi guys. I was so excited to talk to you. And I think we were about maybe 2 or 3 homes. It was really rough, and they
Mhm.
And got them going again, and we finally found something, which is like, it was just perfect, so.
Right on.
I'm happy for them, they're moving, everything's great.
Awesome. Fantastic. And so I love that you just touched on therapy session. Right? So buyer's consultation, not a one-time deal all the time. One of the other spots that I've used the buyer's consultation is if we're just running the gamut, like we've looked at 50 houses, 60 houses, and it's just, we're just looking at everything. Something to pay attention to with buyer clients is if they're just looking at anything and everything, right? And they're just running you all over the place, and just house after house after house, and there's not pulling the trigger. It is well worth your time to get them back in the seat. I know Tracy likes to call putting them in the funnel. So on our team, that's what we talk about. Get your buyers back in the office and put them in the funnel. And what that means is we're gonna get real specific. We're gonna start asking a ton of questions. What's important? Let's regroup, let's redefine the area, let's redefine the beds and baths, let's redefine what's important here and why you're moving in the first place. Sometimes it is just simply bringing them back to the motivation because they've got to the point where they're just nitpicking every house, right? And we got to talk about like not every house is going to have stuff that you're going to have to manage. We just got to figure out what you're willing to manage and what you aren't willing to manage. Get those agreements on the front end, right? I may have to bring it back in and be like, okay, so can we all agree that if the deck needs repainted, we'll just do it? Can we all agree that's not a big deal? Yeah, it's not a big deal. That's not really a hard stop. Okay, great. So the next time we come across an awesome house that needs repainting, right? So I love that therapy session. That's like a really good way to put it, but for sure, like sometimes bring them back in, or when they've lost a couple offers and get discouraged. Sometimes bring them back in and talk about motivation. So. So what I want to say is, what are some key takeaways? So anybody have some key takeaways before we close out today?
Bulletproof your transaction with the buyer.
Yeah, I think you just whole takeaway for me is like set the expectation and address every time. Like this is how the process is gonna be, this is what my job is, this is what your job is, and this is what I expect. And like that way, when that stuff happens, you're like, you talk about it.
Save me time and save them time. And that's a big one. Like, I don't know, like, yo, this is gonna save you some time.
And you,
Yeah. So, yeah, love that. Anybody else?
I think on a similar note, how you said, like, you would show them one and then like you go to the buyer's consult like the next night, because I have had that where I've got like this hot lead and then you're running all over everywhere. It's like, what are you like? And I regret not going through some of this, and having a clear idea of what they actually want.
Yep.
Or talking about the process. I did have somebody drop out after an inspection. It was all just stupid little things, but I didn't do a good job setting her up. Like, of course, there's gonna be something, no one's perfect.
Yeah.
I just could not talk her through, like, none of those things are a big deal. So
Yeah, it makes a difference.
it was heartbreaking, but yeah, I think have to set the expectations early. This is what we're gonna run into. And,
And, for like the online weeks, a lot of times my first showing, I try to schedule 45 minutes. And I know like some of them come through like the tour request where like it automatically sets it for like a half hour. I still block it for 45 to 50 minutes on my calendar. So I don't like put something else underneath where I would have to leave right away. That way I have that a lot of time to have that conversation with them. It's a quicker buyer's consult for sure. But at least I get the ball rolling on that first appointment and I can get some improvements on the front end. Well, Make any questions?
Where are you getting your scripts from?
So I use Glover, Glover U for a lot of my scripts. I don't know if you've introduced them. So you can, if you Google it, you can find gloveru.com, and under their resources, it'll say Jeff's scripts. So Glover is Jeff Glover. They're a team out of the state of Michigan's Glover agency. I believe they sell 900 to 1,000 homes a year. But he has his own coaching and training company, so they've got a couple events every year. My business coach is through Glover U as well. Like their scripts are.
They offer a lot of.
I use online. I think there was a QR code in one of your
Yes.
slides in the beginning to it. Yeah.
I can go back to that for you guys. You've got those.
At the end, there's other resources.
There you go. So those bonus resources.
Any other department needs that one?
So, but yeah, that's where I get a lot of my scripts. I like them.
I have a question. How much do you pay for the silo? To have like a business there with them, or is it for free?
No, no, it is definitely a cost. Depends on the area you're in. If you're an independent agent, I believe most of the time you're gonna pay by zip code. So when you look at the map and you sign up as a premier agent, you can kind of pick the zip codes that you'd like to work. You'll have to see what's open, because there's not always like open advertising, they call it advertising space. But you can jump in there, you'll get a rep, they'll kind of walk you through it. You can find zip codes that have some openings, and it's like, it'll be maybe one zip code's like $1,000 for like guaranteed release month. Depends on your area, is pricing dependent. I know when we started out, one of the things that we did, or that Tracy did, was she found like the outlier zip codes that were really, really cheap because we had a lot of money. Like she was still working another job and trying to sell real estate. I was finishing out school as a physical therapist assistant. I was like in clinical rotations. I wasn't working except for like late nights. And so we didn't have like a ton of money, and she would just buy like the really cheap zip codes and get leads that way and build a business. And then now our stuff is much larger than that, but
When you talk about time blocking at something and trying to work on, I know we're short on time, did you give a high level overview on basically your structure and how you stay excited on which chapter and try to do anything? I think that would be more of a system thing.
yep, I know. So mine does go as deep as I get at the same time every day. The only days that are different on Monday and Friday, I go CrossFit, so those are earlier. But my time blocks are typically, as far as real estate goes, are from starts at 8 o'clock in the morning, and my absolutes stop at noon. So everything that I need to do needs to happen in the morning, because by the afternoon, like people are waking up, they want to go see houses, I need to go set up appointments, right? Like if people want to list, I'm going to be listing with them. I'm going to be on appointments with them, stuff like that. So like my afternoon flow up like that, right? Like once people wake up and they're on the move, they're hitting me with messages. Agents want my attention. Clients want my attention. I'm all of a sudden out in service, right? So in the morning for me, from 8 a.m. to 9:30 in the morning, I'm making phone calls. I'm not answering phone calls unless it's new business. Like if it's new business calling in, then I'm answering the phone. But if it's an agent, if it's a current client that's already under contract, or somebody that I'm actively working with, they're getting a message from me. Just a text message, hey, your client, I'll call you shortly. Or, hey, I see your call. And because you can do the auto messages on your phone, have an auto message, hey, I'll call you at 11 o'clock, whatever. And And so once I hit 9:30, I usually have a little bit of time to maybe get some breakfast or something like that, and there like maybe 15 minutes to a half hour of just kind of some downtime, because I'll need a break, because after an hour and a half of talking to people on the phone, I need a break. And that's new business. Depending on the day, right now I do coaching and training with our agents, so like I have a 10-minute class every Monday that I host from 10 to 11, so that covers that time block for the rest of the week. I'm either doing follow-up or making phone calls or lead generation, right? So my mornings are set for the business. I have, after that, around 11 o'clock, usually on my schedule, I try to have acknowledgements and admin time. Admin time. So that's an opportunity for me, the acknowledgements, for me to like let anybody know that's emailed me, like lenders, vendors, clients. Hey, I saw your email. Hey, I saw your message. I'll get back to you at 1 o'clock. And then at noon I can do lunch. Right? Give myself time, a little bit of time